Sakura was asking an interesting question. Don't you think the Taliban's education minister was right in saying most PhD / postgraduate degrees are useless? outside outside STEM fields, I feel he said the right thing by accident.
Wow.
Okay. Honestly, kind of, yeah.
No. What? Wait, you study psychology.
Okay. That's the thing. I feel like I resent the fact that psychology is classified as liberal arts most of the time, because there is a lot of science that goes into it. Especially the way I learned it, it was very heavily reliant on our current understandings of neuroscience. Are very much informed by a scientific basis. It's not like we're actually learning like Freud or some stuff. I mean, I kind of had a bad experience in critical studies, so I'm a little biased and jaded. Hilarious comment.
Wait.
But I saw a really interesting infographic a few months ago, and it was basically it was kind of shaped like a circle, and it demonstrated the extent to which different academic fields actually drew upon each other to create a body of knowledge. And what was very distinct and interesting was that the humanities field, the further in time that this infographic showed, it was actually not integrating information from other fields into itself to strengthen its body of knowledge. It was just kind of jettisoning into this own little horn off of this like circular infographic, just showing that it's like isolating, just feeding upon itself for legitimacy, authorities, bodies of knowledge, etc. And I think that is a huge problem with the humanities that I have.
I completely disagree with the Taliban. Hey, and this. Unlike the other things, like no, I'm just kidding. No, I completely disagree. I think like a lot of us get the most extreme examples of the most bizarre conclusions that come out of these branches of study, and we attribute it, like for example, we have a whole bunch of very, very useful, very important, and I think actually neglected branches of studies in university that we need more of today, actually not less of, and I will explain, give you some examples. And what happens is that there's out of like a very useful study, sometimes we get some conclusions that are really out there, and a lot of right-leaning people will jump on it. And the reason why there's a motivation for right-leaning people to jump on these extreme examples, to dismiss these studies as a whole, is because right-leaning people are more uneducated. Okay, the more educated people are, the more likely it is for them to be left-leaning. So the right-leaning people are motivated, because that's an embarrassing thing for a lot of right-leaning people. They're motivated to dismiss,
to be anti-intellectual.
To be anti-intellectual, right? To be like, because when it comes to STEM fields, people coming out of STEM fields, they don't humiliate right-leaning people. It's usually people who are educated in history, in philosophy, or in literature, or in other studies that could destroy their dumb arguments for right-leanings. They are the ones who humiliate right-leaning people. So the right-leaning people are motivated to highlight the most extreme, nonsensical conclusions that come out of these fields as a way to dismiss the whole thing. But anybody that is actually in academia and involved in it, they will be exposed to actually a lot of good information, and these weird examples, weird extreme conclusions that you get out of humanities or social sciences are going to be so fringe. But again, those will get the most attention, right? But I think like in fact, we need more people. For example, studies of history and analyzing history is so much needed right now. Okay, a lot of people's conclusions on what what is normal, what conclusions you can make based on what you're saying. A lot of conspiracy theories that people have, a lot of these would have been avoided if more people had more more a better understanding of history. So history is humanities and social sciences, and that is a lack of education and a lack of understanding of history right now is a huge contribution to what a lot of the dumbest takes that we get today, right? Both on the left and right. So we need more education. So, for example, sociology. If more people understood sociology, a lot of the dumb conclusions that we're getting out of politics, people would vote better. People would come up with better conclusions if they had a better understanding of sociology. Again, I know I attack philosophy a lot, philosophical arguments a lot here. However, that's not I don't think that means that we shouldn't be studying philosophy. Studying philosophy will give people a better understanding of the history of thought and how people in throughout history came up with their conclusions, and why our modern way of understanding coming up with conclusions could be better. What was wrong with that? People will have a better grasp of their own thoughts if they study a little bit of philosophy. Studying literature, again, is very important. Okay, studying, and again, one of the studying economy. Okay, economy, and I don't know, some people consider it to be social sciences, some people consider it to be a hard science. But again, studying economy, a lot of people's support of communism is because of the lack of education in economy, and again, a popularity of
history, basically.
You're worried about left, a lot of these crazy left-leaning ideas. Well, I mean, more people studying economy will probably avoid that. And actually, the one that people see as the source of greatest outcome of crazy beliefs is sex education, or gender studies. And again, those are probably some of the most important ones today as well. Again, even gender studies and sex education is very, very important, especially in today's world. And today's, look at what's happening in Texas, and and all these weird conclusions that people are getting from the right and the left when it comes to sex and gender. And again, sex education, gender studies, in the modern world, it's very important for us to understand this, both for our health, both for our physical health. It's important to understand these in a scientific way, and for our mental health, it's very important to understand these in a scientific way. So you can't dismiss these. In fact, like if societies are, if you only focus on STEM, then what you're going to do is you're going to create a society, a group of people that are just good at being sources of production, rather than being, instead of having a population of people that could take control of its own future, and it could demand better representation of itself in its government. And you're only going to make units of production if you only focus on STEM. If your population is only educated in STEM, what your population will end up being is a very good, part of the machine that is supposed to just put out there, put labor out there and get money out of it, right? You're not going to get a population that could take control of its own destiny, and to realize, to add to a knowledge of a population that realizes not just what, STEM is good for a population to learn how it could produce and give to society. But these other studies are important for the population to understand what it needs back, to what it needs to demand back, and what it could expect back, and what it could, how it could hold the people that are in charge of it accountable, and where the fault is when something is not going well, right? So if you want a population that just gives without asking, only teach them STEM. But if you want a population that gives but also knows what to expect, then teach them STEM and also social sciences.
I want to amend my answer or clarify. Like, I have my own issues with like various aspects of liberal arts or the humanities, but I was answering this question from a kind of different mentality. I was thinking more in terms of like what's actually maybe more in demand in a job market. And just it's observation that my friends who were more in STEM related fields had a much easier time upon graduation than all my friends in liberal arts. So I was kind of thinking about it in that terms as well. You know, there's a finite number of like history professors that are needed, right? Yeah. So, and I was joking for those who can't tell about my initial reaction. So there's a question by blank name that I think is good to answer. Oh wait, first part.
Actually, can I say something? You have been growing around an environment. You have been exposed to an environment where you do get the nastiest, craziest conclusions from these studies. So I wouldn't blame you for having a reaction to all of it.
It screwed my mind. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my initial reaction. I'm like, yeah, F this.
Yeah, I know. I understand.
I'm like, I was in top marks in my critical gender studies program. Okay. It screwed me.
I understand. Yeah.
Hey guys, if you're a fan of Blasphemy and Sexy Callie, you know, like me, then you need to be sure to subscribe to our newsletter, link in the description below. Because if you subscribe, we will send you a free copy of our Blasphemous Art ebook. And let me tell you, it is the tastiest blasphemy that you can find anywhere available today. And we are so generous with our blasphemy that we continue to send you more blasphemy every week. So make sure to subscribe, link in the description below.